Folks, we are live here for the 144th episode of Monday Night Nerd, Live, live here on YouTube and live on TikTok. Thank you all for joining. Tonight's topic, we are going to be talking about the top 10 video game fighting franchises of all time. And there's a special reason for that because of what happened last week where I went to the Mortal Kombat premiere. But we're going to talk about that in a little bit because first off, we have to talk about this show itself. Monday Night Nerd as a whole. I did mention on my social media platforms that this was going to be an important episode and to tune in because something was going to be announced. And that announcement is that the 144th episode, tonight's episode of Monday Night Nerd, will be its last on this channel. That's right. Next week, for the 145th episode of Monday Night Nerd, we will be going live on YouTube and TikTok as normal, but on YouTube, it will be under its own channel, Monday Night Nerd. Why are we doing this? Well, because I'm usually using my YouTube channel for my cosplay. I am promoting tutorials, I'm promoting just knowledge about cosplay and a whole bunch of other things. And throwing in a podcast once a week, while it is live and YouTube likes live, the topics are kind of all over the place. And with YouTube's AI getting more understanding of exactly what I'm saying, that messes up the algorithm because it doesn't know how to send this to people. Because if it's sending all my content that's cosplay related to cosplayers, the cosplaying audience might not like every topic we talk about here because sometimes we talk about video games, sometimes we talk about cosplay, sometimes we talk about movies, comics, wrestling, and a whole lot more. So, to mitigate that, we're going to give Monday Night Nerd its own YouTube channel, and it will just be at Monday Night Nerd. I've already set the channel up. We're going to go live next week on Monday Night Nerd, its own YouTube channel. If you follow me on Instagram, if you follow me anywhere else, I will still be doing my normal posts telling you what's going to be going on the episode. But when you click on the link, it will go to Monday Night Nerd, not to Myers Corp Cosplay. So I will have two YouTube channels now. I have two YouTube channels. I have two TikToks. I have an Instagram. I have a Facebook. I am all over social media now. So next week, Monday Night Nerd, its own YouTube channel. It's going to be fun, and I hope it works because I love doing this, but I just feel like the algorithm just does not like it, and I feel like if we put it over on its own channel, it will do better. So next week, something different. Let's jump in to how we start every one of these episodes. I know that technically was news, but this is where we start the actual news.
Live from the multiverse, it's Monday Night News!
Now we're here with the news. We've got some big news to talk about, some stuff that I did last week that I wasn't here for, and a whole lot more. We've had a couple bits of regular nerdy news, so let's get into that. The biggest one we're going to be talking about is... I'm muted? Am I muted? Am I muted? I don't think I'm muted. Can you hear me now? Crystal, can you hear me now? Did I just do that whole first intro as muted? I hope not. But we're going to do it this way. So, let's talk about some news. Clayface trailer just dropped here on the internet last week. We didn't get to talk about it because I was not here last Monday. Clayface. Let's talk about this trailer because this is something very different for the DC universe that they have not done before. We've got the DCU with Superman, Supergirl. Let's jump into something different now, and we're going to talk about Clayface, which is a complete misdirect. Now we're going into the horror genre. If you have not seen the trailer, please go check it out. It is something very different. So the way that they are making this, it's pretty much a body horror movie. If you don't know what that means, body horror basically means it is going to have a lot of body manipulation. And that is really interesting for the Clayface character because the Clayface character is basically someone who can turn themselves into different things. And the only time we've really seen that in any medium really is either a video game or in the animated series. So seeing them do a real life movie of this is going to be very interesting. And what they've shown so far in the trailer has been incredible. It is a very different look than either Superman or Supergirl. It is very dark, very brooding. They are pretty closely following the animated series where Clayface is an actor, something happens to him, and he gets this able to manipulate his body and turn into different people. And it is a very stark look. It is a very dark, grim appearance in his eyes when he's laying in the hospital bed. And I'm very interested to see where they're going to go with this. The only other trailer that has come out that I've seen a lot of people talk about, and I have to talk about because we just had an episode about this, Resident Evil just released its new trailer, and I've seen everybody with an opinion about this, so I might as well give mine. There are a lot of people saying that this trailer does not follow the video game as well as they'd hoped. There are people out there saying that this is a great departure from the series. If you guys have not seen the Resident Evil television show that came out a couple years ago, I'm just happy it's not that. From what it seems like, this does seem a little bit different than a video game, which I'm perfectly fine with. I did enjoy the original group of Resident Evil movies that really didn't play into the video games until the second and third movie where they started throwing different characters in. But I think this is going to be interesting. It looks very horror, very alone, away from a lot of surroundings, which I'm very interested to see because traditionally Resident Evil is a very claustrophobic game where you're stuck in like a big building. So having this person out in the middle of the open, it seems like, at least for the scene in the trailer, I'm interested. I think it's going to be really cool. But obviously it's Resident Evil. It's had its hits. It's had its misses. We'll see where it goes. Cursling says, the other show was so painful. This looks better. It's a low bar they have to get over. When it comes to movie reviews, I watched the Mario Galaxy movie last weekend. I've been told by Pretty Nerdy Crystal, who has been in chat, that I need to watch the Lord of the Rings movies. Yes, if you're new to the show, I've never watched Lord of the Rings. I'm not a big fantasy, dragons, D&D type person. But we have a deal going on that she has also not seen Top Gun. So she is watching Top Gun slowly. I am going to watch Lord of the Rings at some point. It probably won't be until after Anime North, because right now I am spending all my time working on my cosplay for Anime North. I've got some of it in there. I've got some in the garage. We are working our butts off to make sure this thing gets done. But I did have a few minutes to watch the Mario Galaxy movie because it was only an hour and a half, and I've heard it has mixed reviews compared to the first one, and I got to agree with a lot of them. It is a very jingling keys in front of your face type movie. The entire movie is very fast, very in your face. Cameo City, Easter Egg City. The storyline is very doesn't really matter. Mario, to be honest, doesn't really do a ton in the movie. Rosalina is in it from the Mario Galaxy franchise. She plays a pretty good role in it. Peach is in it. Luigi does almost nothing also. Yoshi's in it. It is not a great movie. I will fully admit that, and that sucks because I really liked the first Mario movie. This one really felt like we need to get something out. I don't know why. Especially with the first one is very grounded in building the world, and then this one just seems like they want to throw everything in it. Like, there are cameos from pretty much every Mario game that's in existence. Like, it says it's Galaxy, but there is Odyssey characters in there. There are Mario 2 characters in there. There's Mario 3 references. There's Super Mario World. It's everything, and it just gets overwhelming at times. You know, I'm very much a movie lover. I try not to sit on my phone that often, but I was literally watching this movie and I had to pull my phone out to focus on something else because my mind was just doing this too much. So, not my favorite movie. I think kids will enjoy it, and I do need to remember that this is a kids movie. So, if you have a kid, they'll probably enjoy it. It'll give them something to do for an hour and a half. But if you're a diehard Mario fan and you're going, I can't wait to see the sequel to the first one, probably not going to be impressed by it. Other news, yesterday, Geeks & Co. had their May the 2nd, May the 4th, however you want to turn it, May the 4th celebration at London Brewing Co. on May the 2nd, on Saturday. And this is something that was going on for a couple years. It is in support of Ronald McDonald House. They open up the doors to the London Brewing Co-op, and they invite all of Geeks & Co. and all of their friends together to celebrate nerddom and May the 4th, and there's auctions, and this was the first time I was able to go. I've been wanting to go so many times over the past couple years, but it's always, I'm mid building a cosplay, or last year I didn't feel that great. So this year I made plans and I went. And it was a lot of fun. It was great to see everybody out there. We had a lot of fun talking to different cosplayers. I usually don't get to see that often. Usually at a Comic-Con where I'm running around doing 50 things. Either I'm in cosplay or I'm volunteering or something else. So it was good to finally have a moment where you can just sit down, talk to each other, enjoy a meal, enjoy a drink, and just relax. I really hope they do it again next year. It seems from what I've heard they hit a lot of milestones. Everyone seemed to be having a good time, so I do believe they're going to be doing it again. It was good. I got to hang out with Noah, Freakish Workshop. Didn't really get to hang out with the Geeks & Co. that much because they were running around a little more than I think they thought they would. But overall, it was an absolute great time, and I cannot wait to go again to next year. It was great seeing Marcy and a whole bunch of other people there. Okay, this is something that I kind of had hidden. I didn't talk about the last couple episodes because I wanted to keep it under wraps because it wasn't, I don't know, I just didn't feel like it was appropriate to talk about here until it actually happened. I, last week, was not here on the podcast, and that was because I was in Toronto at the Queen's Quay Cineplex, and I was going to the Mortal Kombat premiere. The amazing folks at Toronto Game Expo reached out the week before and asked if I was available and if I wanted to dress up and go to the premiere. And as I've said on my social posts, I am a lifelong Mortal Kombat fan. I have been playing Mortal Kombat games since the first game. I have been a diehard fan of the series since it came out. So being invited to the Mortal Kombat 2 premiere was amazing, and also getting to dress up as my favorite character, Johnny Cage, was even more fun. Overall, it was an amazing experience. I had so much fun. We got a whole bunch of good content. You've seen some of it. We've still got some more to post. I cannot talk about the movie because there is an embargo until I believe the 7th, which is good because the same day I was invited to the premiere, Dave Thorne, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, and we bought tickets to go to the movies on Thursday. So I will be seeing Mortal Kombat again this Thursday dressed up as Johnny Cage. But overall, it was a great experience. The only thing I can say, and I did say it in my video and I will say it here, if at any point you didn't think Carl Urban was Johnny Cage, he is Johnny Cage. In every aspect of that character, he is Johnny Cage, which made me so happy. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. They had a lot of photos set up. They had a lot of experiences set up. There was a bunch of other cosplayers there. The Cosplay Alliance folks were there, and a bunch of other influencers and cosplayers who you've seen in the Toronto area. We all got to hang out, chit-chat, and talk about how much we love Mortal Kombat. So, yeah, I hope you guys go see the movie, and that's not an ad. That's not a paid. That's just me as a fan saying, go see it. Go see it. Yeah, I don't think there's much else I can talk about, unfortunately. Yeah, I want to talk about the movie. I really do. That's the problem about going to those things is you just want to tell everybody about it, but I can't. There are some people online saying like their feelings about it and not giving full spoilers, but giving their thoughts about it. I don't want to do that because they told me to just keep my mouth shut until the 7th, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut until the 7th. I think that's it for the news. For those who came in late, I will say it again. This is the 144th episode of the Monday Night Nerd show. The big announcement, in case you weren't here at the beginning, I should have waited to the end till you guys joined, but I can say it now. This is the last episode of the podcast on this channel. Next week, Monday Night Nerd will be live as always, but it will be on its own channel. I have created an account called Monday Night Nerd on YouTube, and we'll be posting and we'll be doing this all live on that channel. And the reason is because I think, based off analytics and stuff, that the algorithm of YouTube is not liking that I'm posting all this cosplay content all the time, and then once in a blue moon I'm putting the podcast out that has all these different topics about it, and YouTube just doesn't know who to send it to. So to mitigate that, all of the live stuff will be on Monday Night Nerd. All the cosplay stuff will still be here. So just one more YouTube channel to subscribe to. I promise I'll post and everything as normal on YouTube, on Instagram and all that like I normally do. But the actual live stream will be on Monday Night Nerd, not on Myers Corp Cosplay. So that's what we're going to do next week. So this is the last one on this channel. If you guys are still here, if you can hit like, subscribe, all those things, it means a lot to me. And if you can also go over to Monday Night Nerd, which there's nothing on there. The only thing that's on there right now is a playlist of these old episodes. But if you want to hop over, make a new tab, and at Monday Night Nerd, it is on there. I will be throwing everything on there as of next week. Separate lives and everything else. Yes, you're 100% right, Boomster Joe. See? People loving it. People thinking I'm doing it right. God, I hope it works. I hope it works. Honestly, I was thinking about it for the past couple of days of like, do I want to do this? And I'm like, it's literally no different. I literally just have to make a second account and everything's still the exact same. So I did set it all up to try and do this episode, but when it's a new channel, it takes 24 to 48 hours for the channel to sort of like accept live stream. So we'll do the last one here. Sponsor, as always, my beautiful, loving, amazing, incredible wife. She is amazing. She is incredible. I love her. I would not be the person I am without her. And I don't say that just to suck up. It is the truth. We are having a great time getting ready for Anime North because we both go to that one together. It's the only convention every year that we both go to because we both are going to be working. Actually, we should talk about that. Oh, by the way, hun, I love you. You're my sponsor. Con's coming up. We are getting into the convention season. So this next couple weeks, I'm going to be working my butt off, getting my costume ready, Darius, for the Anime North. Anime North, May 2-4 weekend. I will be there all weekend. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday will be probably just in street clothes because we have jobs to do. Saturday, I will be in Darius. Sunday, I will be as Dan from Street Fighter, as I always wear that one on the Sunday because it's freaking comfortable. Then we got a week off, and then we have Niagara Falls Comic-Con Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the Niagara Falls Convention Center. I will be volunteering. I will be helping lead the volunteers at the autograph section. So if you're going to Niagara Falls Comic-Con, this mug will be there in the autograph area. So come by and say hi. All right, we did the sponsor. We did the like and subscribe. I think, folks, it's time for the main event.
It's time for the main event.
Okay, we are here. It is main event time here on the podcast. What are we doing tonight? We are obviously, based off what happened last week, we're going to talk about fighting game franchises because I went to the Mortal Kombat premiere. We have a Street Fighter movie coming out. Let's talk about fighting games because I am an arcade kid. I'm a 90s kid. I grew up in the arcades. I played lots of fighting games, and not just arcade games, console games as well. And it's one of my favorite franchises. Like, if people come out and say, do you like sports games? Do you like fighting games? Do you like shooters? Do you like role-playing, stuff like that? Honestly, when it comes to my lifelong fandom of video games, fighting games have been like the consistent across the board. I like shooters, but there's ones that I'm not a big fan of. There's role-playing games that are okay, action, adventure stuff. Fighting games pretty much across the board, I like most of them. So, we're going to go through my top 10 fighting game franchises. Now, obviously, these games all have to be fighting franchises. They have to have some sort of fighting in them. Most of them, I would say, have a similar perspective of two people fighting going across the screen with health bars and stuff like that. I will throw out a couple honorable mentions. Def Jam, Vendetta, or Fight for New York. Those are both considered wrestling games in my mind. I know some people would consider them fighting games because they're not really a wrestling game, but to me, they're more wrestling than fighting, because if it was fighting, it would be very high on my list. The only other one I would say is an honorable mention, PlayStation All-Stars. I know a lot of people don't like that series, because that game, because it was just kind of a throwaway to some people. They felt like there was a lot of PlayStation mascots that didn't make the cut, like Crash Bandicoot, etc. I thought it was still a fun series. I played it a ton on the PS3. I played it even more on PlayStation Vita. Overall, I think it's fine. It's just not, obviously, a top 10. What do we have in chat? We've got Boomster Joe saying, I only excelled in Killer Instinct. Well, we'll have to see if Killer Instinct makes the cut. So, we're going to start from number 10 and work our way up. This is, I would say, there were some that I did move around of like what I thought was like a number 5 and number 6 number. So this isn't gospel, but I would say this is a pretty accurate definition of what I feel are the top 10 in my opinion. All right. So let's start at number 10. One of, I think, an underrated franchise. I think it had its day, but if I didn't include this, it would not be a good top 10, because I could not talk about other games without including this one, and that is the Virtua Fighter franchise. Now, this is a 90s arcade staple, in my opinion. I remember this cabinet. I remember being a kid walking in and seeing this cabinet off in the corner at my local mall, and I had already played Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, etc. This game stood out from the rest for one reason, and that is what those characters are. Those are 3D polygons. Folks, this is the world's first 3D polygon fighting game. And I know in today's world we are just loaded with almost photorealistic graphics in our video games. Going from a 2D platformer and a 2D fighter to a 3D, even if it looks like that is mind-blowing to a kid. One of the best parts about this game was it was such a fun game to play, but such a difficult game to master. This was not a game that you could easily spam. There were no special meters like, some of the later Street Fighters. There was no projectiles. There was no Hadoukens and stuff like that. There was no super moves. It was all straight martial arts, straight fighting, which was such an interesting concept, because I feel like some later games and some games that are higher on this list do get pigeonholed as games that are just known for the fatalities or the super combos and stuff like that. This was a straight combat game that you needed to play a lot to master the mechanics of it. And console-wise, this did amazing in the arcades, but also once this was ported to the Sega Saturn, this was one of the games. I knew a couple people who had the Sega Saturn, not a ton. It was not the best-selling console, but the ones that did loved this game, because the port from arcade to Sega Saturn was pretty darn accurate to what you experienced in the arcade. If you're not a hardcore fighting game fan, and I'm not saying I am, but if you played the arcades enough, you did notice that when you got those games on the consoles, there were differences. It was not a one-to-one exact same comparison. But they did a very, very good job porting this over to the Sega Saturn. And if it wasn't for Virtua Fighter, we would not get games like Tekken, or games like that. You know what? I'm going to put this as another honorable mention. Dead or Alive. We wouldn't get those franchises without Virtua Fighter being the first ones to jump into that 3D fighting world. Shinobi said, I super suck at VF, but the first 3 games especially were jaw-dropping to see at the time. Agreed. Boomsha Joe, I remember it was interesting being in a 3D world and being able to dash side to side. It just changed things. It's one of those things that you did it for the first time and you're like, I need this in every game now. Can't wait for new VF. It looks insane. Oh my god, yes, that trailer for that new VF is dope looking. I hope the trailer is not way better than what this game is going to be, because that game looks so good. So we've gone from the king, well, I shouldn't say the king, the inspiration and the grandfather of 3D fighting into a game that had an amazing run, and still is doing pretty well. But I would say 2, 3, 1, yeah, 1, 2, 3 were the games that kind of pushed this into the stratosphere and into the mainstream, and that is the Soul Calibur franchise. The Soul Calibur franchise is one that I slept on the first one. I remember going to an old friend of my house, and he loved Soul Calibur. He loved playing it, and we would always play it, and it wasn't for me. It really wasn't. But then when Soul Calibur 2 came out, I remember him telling me, like, this is the one you want to get into. And I remember renting this game. And it was interesting, but the thing that kind of pulled me in was, can we do a finger right there? That character right there is not a Soul Calibur character. That is Heihachi from Tekken. And what Soul Calibur 2 did was bring in different cameo characters for each version of the game. So Soul Calibur 2 came out on PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, and each version had a different playable special character. PlayStation 2 had Heihachi from Tekken, GameCube had Link, and we had Spawn in the Xbox game, which was so frustrating because I had a PlayStation and I wanted to play Spawn. So the big thing with Soul Calibur is this is a weapon-based gameplay. Not a lot of games used weapons as its main function. Some games like Mortal Kombat 4 had you bring out weapons. Some of the later Mortal Kombats in the PS2 had weapons that you could bring out. This was full weapon, and this was also what they call an 8-way system. So you could just move side to side, but you could also go 1, 2, 3, 4 up. Like, you could move inland, outland. It made things so much different to play, because you weren't just having to focus of someone throws an attack, you can jump over. You could throw an attack and you can move back, you can move forward, you can change your direction. Made things a lot more difficult to kind of figure out how to play and how to get around different attacks. As I said, the guest characters that they started in number 2 have continued throughout the different franchises. I know we've had I think we had the Witchers in one. We had, who else? Was Onimusha in one, I think? Kratos, I think, was in one. There was a lot of different celebrity characters over the past couple games, which is great because I know some people might think, well, that takes a spot away from a character from the franchise that could give them new life. But it also brings in new players. I know so many people who never touched Soul Calibur until they saw that Link was in the GameCube version, or if they were a comic book fan and they had an Xbox, they rented it so they could play as Spawn with the giant axe. It made people want to play it more. And this is also one of the few games which has such a long and rich history and story behind it. You know, a lot of these games, and I love them, but a lot of them are not that good at building a world and building stories. I love Street Fighter, as everyone else does, but there's not a lot of in-depth story in the Street Fighter universe. Soul Calibur does, including the different good and evil weapons and etc. Really enjoy that side of it. So if you really want to get into a world and a robust story that has depth to it, you should probably give Soul Calibur franchise a shot. And also a really good character creation tool. I've played a couple of the newer ones, and it's actually kind of fun to create a new character. Like, there's some of these fighting games you can kind of tell it's an add-on. It's not really needed. It's not really like they cared. It's just, well, I guess we have to do a character creator. Let's just kind of throw this in. They did a good job on it, and I think it's one of the better ones in the fighting game franchise. Darth Vader was in Soul Calibur. Yes, that was it. I knew there was a Star Wars one. Yes, Vader was in one. Yoda was in another. That was it. I knew there was one I was trying to think of. So, Virtual Fighter and Soul Calibur are our first two. We've got number 10 and number 9. Let's work our way up to one that I have talked about here on the show. And this was one that I've said before, and I'll say it again, really scared my mom when I started going to the arcades, because this arcade cabinet was right next to the entrance of the arcade. And when we used to walk by, my dad, for the background, let me go into the background of this. My dad used to take me to the arcade when we used to hang out. We would go to the arcade, we'd get a slice of pizza, we'd spend a whole bunch of money at the arcade. Probably why I'm such a gamer right now is because of my dad. And then when we'd walk by with my mom, I'd be like, I was playing that yesterday. And my mom's like, what is that? Because this arcade cabinet was covered in like scales and blood and bones. And it just had this amazing title down the side of the cabinet saying Primal Rage. And I loved this game. And I still throw this into my Super Nintendo every once in a while, because it is a game that I think you could easily make a new version of. Like, we live in a world where, Kaiju and Godzilla and all these other amazing franchises have pretty much this idea of big fighting monsters. We could easily make a new Primal Rage game. So the thing I really liked about this is, when I grew up, I was really into different types of art. I went to my mom's boyfriend at the time signed me up for many different art classes, like lots of cartoon drawing and life drawing, etc. But the class and the course that I loved doing the most was claymation. I loved building claymation, and I still love doing it with foam clay, especially for my cosplays. And this game, the art style is all based around stop motion clay animatronics, and I dig that. I love that look. This is just exactly what it looks like. Like, this poster has no real confusion of what this could be. This is a bunch of monsters fighting to the death, and it was so many different monsters that you could easily find your favorite. You had red T-Rexes, you had serpent characters, you had Triceratops, I believe. You had so many different ones, but it was still simple enough that it wasn't too crazy. The post-apocalyptic feeling with the idea of the world has been destroyed, and now these different creatures are now gods, and they will fight over each other, and they will take over territories. And as you're fighting in the match, you see little characters behind you that are basically worshippers of these gods, and you can eat the worshippers to get health. Is such a cool idea. And the health bar is literally a vein and a heart, or an artery and a heart. So you're literally just going through, taking away the artery, and then the heart explodes at the end. Like, it's the most, exactly what the title says, primal way of doing a game. And this, I remember playing this game so much. I remember hearing the announcer, as I believe someone mentioned at the beginning, of rage whenever you start in a match, and just blood flying everywhere. Yeah, my mom was not pleased with this game. Which I still laugh at. that my mom and I have a very, very fun looking back on it, because I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons. I was not allowed to play games like this. I wasn't saying it was sheltered, but she was very conservative about certain things. But then when she found out I was watching South Park at my dad's place, and she saw what South Park was, gloves were off. I could watch anything at that point because South Park was hilarious. So looking back on this, it's thinking of walking past an arcade and her just being like, you should be playing that and going, just give it like 2 years and you will find like so many worse things hilarious because South Park did it. But yeah, Primal Rage is still such a good game. I know based off reports that there was a second one planning to be made, but it just got scrapped, which sucks because I would love to see what they were going to do with the second one because the first one was such a great building block. So we are 3 in. We have Virtua Fighter, we have Primal Rage, and we have the amazing franchise Soul Calibur. Now we're going to get into one that we just talked about a little while ago, but we're going to get a little more in depth about it, and that is a game that Virtua Fighter influenced and has had a great career since then, and a great franchise, and that is Tekken. Not a game I grew up with. This was a PlayStation game. This was something that I looked afar at. I had friends who had PlayStations. I had an N64, and I saw so many amazing moments in this game going to friends' houses, especially being a kid and seeing games like Tekken 3 for the PlayStation, which is probably one of the best reviewed fighting games of all time. That I don't think there's a single person who can't love that game, even in 2026. This is an interesting game because this is one that popularized the 4-button limb style fighting. So you had one that was your left arm, one button was your right arm, left leg, right leg, which is not something that a lot of games were using at that point. We had Mortal Kombat, which was pretty much high punch, low kick, high kick. You had, like I said, the Soul Calibur franchise, which was multi-directional. But this was definitely a different play style and something that you could easily button mash and get away with surviving. But if you knew how to play this and you took your time and studied and worked hard, you could master this game with things like, this was one of the ones that I first remember seeing combos and going, oh, we could have some fun with these custom ways of making things up. So lots of fun with this. The other thing about this is the consistency of the game. This game has pretty much since, I would say 2, I wouldn't say 1. 1 was good, but I don't know. 2 forward has pretty much been consistently good. Like, not great. Like, there was definitely ones that I liked more. I loved Tekken 4. I loved 5, 6, 7, yeah. But consistently, there hasn't been a game in this franchise that I think the fighting game communities kind of went, ugh, another Tekken game, or that was horrible. They've all been pretty standard and pretty good over the course of their history, which is tough to say because I don't think there's many in this entire list that I could say you've had 7, 8, you had your cross Tekkens and stuff that have been synonymously good. There's at least been a dud in every one, I think. So props to the team at Capcom and Tekken for doing it. Some iconic characters, like I said, Hayashi's iconic character so much that he was in the Soul Calibur franchise. I definitely think this deserves a little more mainstream love because of how good the franchise is, but to each his own. I think it does get its love in the fighting game community. People do love this franchise, but overall, it gets the love, but I think it deserves more. Pretty Nerdy Crystal, sorry for being quiet, friends. Trying my hardest to try on the cosplay. Yes, Pretty Nerdy Crystal is working her butt off on her cosplay because she should, and I need to do that too. But I want to be here talking about fighting games with you guys. So we've gone to Tekken. This next one, I think someone in the chat brought it up earlier, and I think this is one that really deserves more love. I think the 90s kids love it. I think the 2016 remaster update, third one, whatever you want to call it, has its fans, but I think it deserves more love, and I think it needs another reboot, or at least another one in the franchise, and that is Killer Freaking Instinct. Now, this game, wow. Seeing this at the arcade was nuts. This was a game that I think I probably played it only a handful of times. Had to have been a handful of times. And I remember going to, I want to say it was at Shoppers Drug Mart or something like that. And I remember seeing the Killer Instinct Gold strategy guide. And I ran to my mom and I'm like, I need this. I need this. I need this. And she got it for me, and I still have it downstairs. I loved this franchise. The like, you can't talk about Killer Instinct without talking about the combos. Like, that's what this game is just, let's figure out how to make combos. The character roster is so good, from Fulgore to Jago to Orchid to Combo. Like, so many iconic characters, which I think do a great job in all three iterations of the game, including the 2013, that was it, 2013 update on the Xbox One, which I was super jealous about. Like, I'm a PlayStation fanboy, I will fully admit it, but there was a moment in time when Rare just threw out everything on the Xbox, including the Conquer and all that stuff. And when this remake came out, or the reboot, whatever you want to call it, boy, was I tempted to get an Xbox, if only for Killer Instinct and that Rare collection, because this was just, I was so pissed that I didn't get this. And having the cameo character, having the celebrity characters of like the Battletoads was just like, I'm missing out. But yeah, the first one, the second one were just iconic games in the arcades. You knew the arcade was bopping if you were walking past and you just heard Combo Breaker, or just hearing the announcers screaming over every other cabinet in the arcade. Just made it an iconic game. And yeah, like the roster itself, like having Spinal, a skeleton, having Fulgore, having all these different characters from all these different looks that didn't look the same. Like, I love Mortal Kombat, but Mortal Kombat is pretty much all people. Like, there's not many, like there's Goro and stuff like that, but pretty much they're all people. But then you've got this, where it's so many different variety of characters that all are colliding. It was so fun. It was such a fun game. Booster Joe said they had a KI arcade at London. Oh, I know. I was downstairs taking care of Noah's booth. I hopefully this year we'll be able to run up there and play a match or two. Maybe pull off an ultra combo or two, if I still got the muscle memory. But yeah, Killer Instinct is such a great franchise, and I think it's been another decade. I think it's time we need a reboot. Or I've heard rumors that they're going to bring the 2013 reboot onto the PlayStation Network now that Xbox is starting to throw more stuff on there, which, please. We got Halo. I get to play Halo. I get to play Gears of War. Give me Killer Instinct. Give me Killer Instinct. So we're at the halfway point. We've gone through Virtual Fighter, we've gone through Soul Calibur, we've got Primal Rage, we got Tekken, we got Killer Instinct. We can't talk about fighting games. We can't talk about the fighting game franchises without possibly one of the best mashups in video game history, and that is Marvel versus Capcom. This was insane when I was a kid. You get to have Street Fighter guys versus Marvel guys. You get to have, in some versions, you had the Resident Evil guys against Spider-Man. Like, what are we doing? This was a dream for kids. So this franchise popularized the 3v3. So you got 3 characters on either side that you can call assists for, which was such an interesting thing to figure out when you were a kid. I think a lot of kids grew up with Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. You had the one-on-ones. very easy to understand. You got one character, they run out of health, they're done. This one, you had 3 characters sometimes, and you could tag them in whenever you needed to, and you can call them for an assist every now and then. That adds a whole bunch of complexity to your gameplay, and honestly made it a lot more fun. Similar to the Killer Instinct world, you had so many fun things like the hyper combos, the saving up your meter, not wanting to blow it until the end, and then throwing out all of your supers at the exact same time. And like I said, the dream crossover. Like, you had matches where you had Ryu, Cyclops, and Captain America on a team. I remember playing Marvel vs. Capcom in the arcade and absolutely loving it. And I can't remember what birthday it was or Christmas, but I begged my mom for Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for the PlayStation 2. And I was so happy to get it. I played it to death. I loved that game, and I still have it downstairs. My 3 were Cable, Ryu, and Cyclops. Those were my 3 because they were all amazing projectile attacks, and it was so fun to see just the different combos you can do with them. Like, there was definitely mashups that worked way better. I know some people were really big on the Iron Man and War Machine combo because they both had pretty good projectiles. Some people, had Mega Man as their third person. You never know. So yeah, it was really fun seeing the different combos and which ones worked really well. And I think, I loved Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I thought it was a great game, but it wasn't until I got older that I realized a lot of people also agreed with me. And even to today, the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise is still going strong. MVC2 is probably one of the most well-known games in the Evo fighting world that everyone loves to play. And now we have the Marvel vs. Capcom Ultimate Works, which is every version of it together on one disc or one download, which I'm waiting for it to drop because I want to get this, but I just don't want to pay full price. But yeah, such an amazing franchise. If you go to any retro arcade at this point, I'm pretty sure you'll find one cabinet of one of the Marvel vs. Capcom games. So we've talked about some amazing mashups. Hang on. Shinobi AFC said it's crazy that the Capcom vs. series started from their X-Men fighting game, had gorgeous backgrounds, which then led to X-Men Street Fighter, eventually MVC. Yeah, and I should have brought that up. Yeah, so starting out with an X-Men fighting game was how this all started, and that is just smart on Capcom because, and we're going to talk about it a little more, similar franchise in the next one. You have something that works so well, you could easily take that game and try and reinvent the wheel. Like, I think a lot of games try and do that. They try and take what they've done well and go, okay, this worked. Let's tweak 50 things and try and make it better. Don't always have to do that. You had a great game with a great fighting system. Let's just add a couple more characters. And we'll maybe add the Infinity Gems as maybe an add-on. And then we're going to add a couple more characters and a couple more characters. It worked. It was so smart of them. I always say this about sports games. Like, I know EA loves their money and loves making $1 billion every time they drop a Madden franchise or the NHL franchise or anything. If I was them and wasn't greedy for money, I would do a game every other year. So you'd get, let's say, NHL 25, NHL 27, and in NHL 26, instead of a full release game, I would just do an update to the roster. Because there's nothing you're going to update on that franchise in 1 year that's going to make a hell of a difference. If anything, and if you follow those franchises long enough and look at their history, it's a lot of just pulling something out, putting something in, pulling something out, putting something in, pulling something out, putting something in. That's all they ever do. And I'll fully admit, I'm a wrestling fan, and wrestling games do that too. Like, this year, they were like, oh, there's so many cool things we've added. And I'm like, if you've played a wrestling game before PS4, we had all these things in PS3. It's just every time a new system comes out, they give you the bare bones. And I don't know if that's because of the way that they're building everything from scratch and they don't have time to work on everything. But every version of a place, every time a new game comes out for a brand new system, it's always a bare bones. And then every year they just add a little bit more, add a little bit more, add a little bit more. But then they work with it and try and tweak it. It's just stop. Just do a roster update. You're good. But yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom started with an X-Men game and worked its way up to one of the most loved fighting game franchises. So we're now in the top 4. So we are getting close to the nitty-gritty. Which ones do you think should make the top 4? Because I have mine. I want to know what yours are. So put them in the chat. What are your top 3 fighting game franchises? Because we're going to go into the 4th one right now. And this is one that if you took a kid, we're going to say me, back in the day. We're going to say 1990 Mike. And I'm sitting there and I'm playing Mortal Kombat for the first time. Playing Mortal Kombat, it's 1992, let's say. I'm playing Mortal Kombat for the first time. Having a lot of fun, enjoying it. If you looked down at me and said, Michael, those other games you have over there in the corner, those ones, yeah, they're all going to fight each other in one day. They're all going to be in a game, and they're all going to fight each other. I would have went, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. There's no way they're going to get all those characters together, and they're going to make a game and fight them. And they did. And they made a killer franchise out of it. Super Smash Bros. And this is one that's just, it's a fever dream. It's a fever dream for anybody in the world. If you've ever had a franchise of anything, and you had that moment where you're like, what would happen if that one fought that one? Like, what if Mario fought Zelda? Or what if Yoshi fought Falcon? Like, you'd be like, yeah, right, that's never gonna happen. And Nintendo went, what if we did that? What if we did that? And they released the first one on the N64, and they've made billions and billions of dollars since then with this franchise. I remember picking up the first Smash Bros. For the N64, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I will be fully honest, I was a Samus player. I loved running through as Samus and having a lot of fun. But I didn't play a lot after that. I will fully admit I did not have a GameCube, so I was not I did not play Brawl. I did not play Melee. My friend Edith, who I've talked about on the show, she had let me borrow Ultimate for the Switch. Did not really get into it. Probably my own personal, just busy doing other things, not really my type of game anymore, but I do appreciate the franchise, and I know a lot of people do love this game. It is the ultimate crossover. It is the ultimate crossover, and it does something that I think a lot of people don't realize is actually a really interesting thing. In a lot of these fighting games, and we kind of talked about it at the beginning of the episode, a lot of the games have a very similar gameplay style. You fight, you lose health, you die, one wins, one loses. This game doesn't have a health bar. It doesn't have a health bar. It's just a ring out system. That's all it is. And that is such an interesting way to make a fighting game. But it so works. And it's one of the most well-known and most loved fighting game franchises across the board. Not even just, the hardcore fighters. Families play this. Kids play this. Go to parties, people will play Smash. It's just one of those games that has hooked an entire, not even an entire generation, multi-generational gamers to just have fun. And with the crossover, and with, I think there's like almost 90 characters in Ultimate, you're going to find somebody you want to play. So you're going to find some character, whether it's, again, the regular ones that come from the first game of your Marios, your Fox, your Yoshi, Pikachu, or we've got ones like the dog and bird from Duck Hunt. Like, there's so many characters you can enjoy playing this game. And it's a simple, easy to enjoy, pick up and play type game where you could easily sit back and learn the game, and you can become a hardcore, learn all the intricate moves and stuff. but you can easily just pick up and enjoy the game. And I think that's what makes it such a well-known and well-loved series, is that it's not super violent, it's not super bloody or anything like certain games. This is just a fun beat 'em up that almost anybody can pick up and have fun with. Yeah, I think that's it for Smash. We're in our top 3. Steven Groot says MK and Soul Calibur. Good choices. I can tell you right now, I don't know if you were here at the time, but Soul Calibur was at number 9 for me. Love the franchise, love the special characters. I do have more favorites though. But so we're in our top 3. This game, when I first heard about this game coming out, I will admit it made me wonder if it was going to be a copy of a game we've already talked about. Because of the roster. I was like, okay, that roster is very similar to this roster for this game. Are they going to do a very similar style and just try and compete? And then I saw who was making the game. And I went, ooh, you have my attention, because that makes a very big difference. Because if it was a very similar maker, I would be worried. But when I found out one of my favorite developers took over it, I was intrigued, and that was the Injustice franchise. This was insane. This was fun. I shouldn't even say insane. This was fun. This was just a fun series, because it could have easily just been what a previous version of this was. So back in the day, in Mortal Kombat world, Mortal Kombat wanted to do a mashup game with another franchise. They had reached out to different ones, including Marvel, and DC said yes. They said, we would love to do a crossover game where we had Mortal Kombat characters fight DC characters. And that's how we got Mortal Kombat versus DC for the PS3. The problem was the DC team at the time said, that's great, but we do not want our DC characters to show too much violence. They don't want to kill. And that is the problem with the Mortal Kombat versus DC game. As you could tell, the Mortal Kombat characters had fatalities and the DC characters had brutalities, where every time they did a finishing move, the other opponent was still moving a bit. They weren't dead. They were just maybe knocked out. And that kind of weakened the game a bit. So when I heard this was happening, I was like, well, they're not going to do that again. So maybe they're going to do something different. Maybe they'll do a Marvel vs. Capcom style. And then I went, oh, it's NetherRealm. It's the Mortal Kombat guys doing it. Okay, what are we going to do? And what we got in this was a very story-driven video game, which was not something I was expecting, because you could easily just do like a Street Fighter, like a Marvel vs. Capcom, of just do, okay, here's Superman versus Batman, here's Superman versus Joker, here's Green Lantern, here's Flash, just fight. This was a very story-driven game. There was a great story about this, where if you've never played the game, which I'd be shocked if you're a comic book fan and didn't get to play this, the story of this game was Joker was able to get his Joker gas onto Superman, and Superman accidentally kills Lois Lane. And because that happens, Superman goes crazy and basically becomes a dictator and wants to take over the world, only to make sure nothing like that ever happens again. And you have the Batmans and such say you can't do that. You have to give people freedom. And it is a really interesting story. Something that I don't think was really... It wasn't something that was really required, but I think they did a great job with it. So not only was it a fun story, but it was also a fun game to play. You had a lot of interactable objects. In the first game, you had different things flying around that you could slam onto people. In the second game, you had breaking through walls and such. Lots of different things that made the gameplay a lot more than just two characters fighting. You also were able to incorporate different people's powers. You had Green Lanterns when it's constructibles. You had Joker throwing, bombs at people. You had Wonder Woman with her lasso. Lots of interesting, fun things you could do with these characters. And also, something that I think gets missed from this game, it had a pretty good mobile game. Like, it wasn't great. Like, if you went, I want to play this on a mobile, no, it's very different. It was a very turn-based, like, card kind of game, but it wasn't bad. It really wasn't that bad for a mobile game. And I know a lot of people who did play this had the mobile game and actually didn't mind it that much. So that is something that I don't think a lot of these franchises on this list can say, that they made a mobile game that did not bad. And there's also an arcade version of this that isn't horrible either. So overall, not a bad win for the franchise. And this again showed that you could take a franchise that wasn't traditionally a fighting game and make a great fighting game with compelling characters, with a dark narrative behind it that was not really there as much as, it could be now. Like today we've got Ultimate Batman and stuff like that, so we could do things like that easily. But back then, not as easy to do. And I think the NetherRealm team, the guys who did Mortal Kombat, brought this to life. And from all I've heard, this is the next one they're going to be working on. So we will be getting an Injustice 3 soon, and I am super excited about that. Pretty Nerd Crystal, I love Tekken 2 or 3, I forget, and MK2. And would you consider Twisted Metal game a fighting game? No, I would not. I would call it. It's not really a driving game. Yeah, it's kind of in an island all of its own. But it's definitely fun. It's definitely fun. Shinobi said, beyond being fun as hell. Yeah, Twisted Metal Black. Loved that game. Loved Twisted Metal Black. I played the newer one for PS3, I think it was. PS4, PS3. That was a good one as well. But yeah, I would not consider Twisted Metal a fighting game. Yeah, I don't know what I would call it. It's kind of just a car destroying game. It's funny, the only one I can think that's similar to it is WWE Crush Hour, and that is just a ripoff of Twisted Metal with the WWE license on it. So yeah, we've got Injustice at number 3. Let's move up to number 2. So I think if you were ever a fighting game fan, you knew it was going to come down to these two. You knew it was going to come down to one or two. Because there's really only two games that kind of hold the 1A and 1B, and it's up to everybody's individual preference of what number 1 and number 2 is. So for me, you could probably guess Street Fighter is number 2. I love Street Fighter, and it really is a 1A and 1B for me. This game is very much the modern one-on-one fighting game. Like, if it wasn't for this, we wouldn't have fighting games as we know it today. Street Fighter 2 specifically. If you go back and play Street Fighter 1, it is very, very different, very slow. But Street Fighter 2 just made fighting games the way they are now, and it is a beloved franchise. The first game to introduce special moves. Like, again, back in the day, it was just fighting. The first Street Fighter game was just fighting. But you got Street Fighter 2 and you were able to have special moves. You had Blanka's electricity. You had the Hadoukens. You had Guile's back kick. You had E Honda's fists. Totally changed the game in fighting. And with this franchise, you've got Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Bison, all these characters that are synonymous with gaming franchises now and are loved by so many different people, to the point that Wreck-It Ralph, the Disney movie, had Bison as one of the villains in the therapy session. So I think that's tells you right there that it's a pretty good franchise if Disney's making a joke about it or making a cameo about it. And this is definitely a game that in the competitive world you can't think of competitive gaming without Street Fighter. In the Evo tournaments, in pretty much ever since Street Fighter 2, I think there's always been a Street Fighter game in some capacity in that tournament and in the competitive gaming. So I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Shinobi said SF2 accidentally introduced combos, completely changed the game. Yep. Completely changed the game in number 2, and then Mortal Kombat stole it in number 3. V8 was dope. Yeah, you know what? V8 ain't bad. Street Fighter ain't bad. The new one. Such a great game and fun to play. Yeah, I personally liked World Warrior the best. I have Street Fighter 2, but I liked having T-Hawk and DJ and all those as the bonus characters. I like playing them pretty much a lot more. So we've got number 2. So I think based off me going to the premiere last week, me talking about it before we started the episode, and all the times I've talked about them in the past, Mortal Kombat is my number 1. And it like, if you know me, you knew this was going to be number 1, because I've just loved this franchise since I first saw it. Playing Mortal Kombat 1 was just, it was mind-blowing to me. When I was in grade school, we had a great library system that got weekly or monthly Nintendo Power issues, and they also picked up strategy guides for us. They had the Mortal Kombat 2 strategy guide, and it was never, ever on the shelf because everybody was reserving it. And there was a list of people that as soon as one person came in and brought it back, someone else had taken it out. It was just in and out, in and out. I remember renting that book and just sitting there drawing all the characters out. It got to the point where later on in grade school, we went on a field trip and we went ice skating, and I accidentally fell and split my chin open. I had to get stitches. And on the way home, my mom was like, we can stop in at a store and I can get you a treat for the rest of the day. And she was thinking I was going to say ice cream or something like that. And I walked right up to the magazine stand, and they had the Mortal Kombat Trilogy strategy guide there. And I handed that to her. And I said, that's my gift. And I loved that strategy guide. I read that from cover to cover 100 times. I still have it. This system, like, how can you not love Mortal Kombat? Like, this franchise invented the ESRB. We would not have a video game rating system if it wasn't for this. I mean, someone would have done something after, but they invented the ESRB. Doing digitized sprites, taking photos of the actors and digitizing them to make the animation style was something that wasn't seen, made it look hyper realistic. Because everybody, like the Street Fighter guys and stuff, was all pixels, so you could tell it was a character or a cartoon sort of. But having the digitized actors actually look like it was a real person that was getting decapitated, and all those fatalities looked way more realistic because it looked like a real person. And I think overall, this is a franchise that has continuously been in pop culture for the past 30 years. Like, it has always been here. You've always had a movie, a video game, comic books, anything. You always have some type of Mortal Kombat. Now, as I said with other franchises, this has not been a continuous, it's been 10 out of 10 across the board. There's definitely been some downturns when it comes to Mortal Kombat. I'm not going to say there isn't. I remember Mythologies. I remember Special Forces. They were terrible. But consistently overall, it has been a solid franchise with, the new movies coming out. They've had 4 movies. They've had 2 TV shows. They've had a YouTube shorts. They've had crossovers everywhere. You can't talk to a gamer and not say, do you know who Scorpion is? Do you know who Sub-Zero is? They'll go, the blue and yellow ninja? Yeah, they know him. Like, it's that synonymous in pop culture. Everyone knows who they are. You cannot say get over here without people understanding what you meant. Exactly. There was a reason why at the premiere, every time they wanted to do a photo, they wanted everybody to yell, get over here. There's a reason. So, yeah. Number 1 is Mortal Kombat, and I think you all kind of knew that, but I still wanted to go through the other ones anyways. I appreciate you guys being here. I know we've gone a little late tonight. It is 10 after 8. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that, it would mean a lot. If you guys missed it earlier, I will say it for a third time. this will be the last episode here on this channel on YouTube. Next week, we will be back, but we will be back on its own channel. Monday Night Nerd will have its own channel. I will be posting throughout the week on different channels, showing you where the link is so you can go subscribe to that so you can make sure to get notified for next week's episode. And yeah. So this week, I'm going to be running around making sure that all my cosplays get done because I have a whole bunch of stuff getting ready for Anime North because that is in a couple weeks. This week coming up, this Saturday is my birthday, so I will be busy that day. And we have a whole bunch of other stuff coming up. But I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to let you hit the road. I hope to talk to you soon. I hope to see you around. And thanks for tuning in. I love you all, and I will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys. Thanks so much for watching Monday Night Nerd. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any